And we are going live. I guess it doesn't know even countdown anymore. What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to SIBZ, West Coast, East Coast siblings, where we break down your favorite movies and TV shows. I'm fixing the lighting now. I just had to jump in live. I had to get on this. Bizarro is here in the newest episode 3 of Superman and Lois. So we're going to break it down. I'm going to chat with you guys live. So sit back, relax, get a snack. Let's have a conversation. Let me get this lighting right because it's all out of whack right now. There we go. So it doesn't look too crazy there. What is going on? So I didn't do the episode for episode 2 last week. And so this is going to be episode 2 and 3, but primarily focusing on 3 because of what went down. So I've got my notes here. Feel free to chat it up with me. I've got the chat pulled up. Let me just pull live chat right there and let's get into it. Okay, so this episode starts off in the aftermath, obviously, of where we picked up last week. Superman's continuing to have these visions of this unknown character. A lot of people were thinking that this was going to be Doomsday. It was the only person that we could really think about who would be from Krypton that may have somehow been experimented on and been down there. But I got to be honest, not even I thought of the possibility of Bizarro being here. This is one of the first, if not, I think this is the only live action version of Bizarro we've ever had. And so it was the furthest thing away from my mind. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So some other things are going on. Let's start with the boring stuff. Not the boring stuff. This is all important stuff that helps round out the show. So let's start with Lana and Kyle as they decide to together create a campaign so that Lana can run for mayor and replace, I forget, whatever current mayor was running. But after she fails to answer some basic questions, like how did you not know that the dude that you were working for, Morgan Edge, was the one juicing up all these Kryptonians, she has to do some damage control, and she goes live in this super staged, video in her kitchen where she's like, oh, I'm just randomly making food here in the kitchen. I'm an average Joe like everybody else. So that's what's going on with Lana. I think she's going to win the mayor position. That's kind of why they set up her entire storyline. Then from Lana, let's move on to Lois. Lois is working at the Gazette and she's trying to do damage control as well for some stuff that was going on with her sister and the reports that were made back then that she was caught in some sketchy dealings with. And we actually find out more about that later, but we'll get to that. So then moving on to John Henry Irons, he vows, of course, never to put on the steel suit, but then it's like, why are you even here if you're not going to put on the steel suit? And we knew it wouldn't last long, and so we finally get to see him back in action helping Superman, but we're not going to get too much into that yet because we're going to save the Bizarro stuff for a little bit later. Hold on, let me change the thumbnail for this video here because we've got a really grainy thumbnail that's on there now when people see it. But yeah, so guys, John Henry Irons puts on the suit. His daughter's helping him. Let's actually talk about Jonathan and Jordan. So Jordan's still going through all this crap with Sarah because Sarah cheated. And the thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but she's just not remorseful at all. I mean, she's definitely not feeling sorry or anything, and she didn't want to tell him or whatever. Here, Jordan's going nuts, like, oh, should I tell her about my powers, this, that, and the other thing? We'll get to Jordan's conversation with Clark about telling Sarah about his identity. But, she has, no remorse for what she did. And Jordan is having a conversation with Clark like, oh, well, maybe I want to marry her. Maybe, she's the best person in the world and I love her and all this stuff. And Clark's like, look. And he did overreact, obviously, because he's going through some bizarre happenings, if you will. But he was right on the money. I mean, the kid's totally overreacting. And you understand, being a teenager and having those crushes, and it feels like the world's falling apart when things aren't going your way. But at the same time, Jordan needs to calm down and stop trying to tell anybody who he has a crush on that he has powers and who his dad is and let them into all that stuff. I mean, they're just not that close yet. How long have they even been dating? But then he goes off, and then Lois gets on him saying, well, sometimes teenagers aren't going to listen, but your reaction was strong. Can you think of one character in this show who has had the most overreactions? Yeah, it's going to be Lois Lane. She constantly was overreacting to a whole bunch of different stuff over the past couple of seasons, over the last 2 seasons, really. But she was like, oh yeah, Clark, you came on too strong there. Hey, that's her opinion there. But I definitely think that Clark had the right idea, but his inability to control his Bizarro rage is what got him. So let's talk about what's happening down there in the Schuster mine. So we know from the previous season there's Kryptonite X down there, and Kryptonite Gold, whatever you want to call it. And this golden kryptonite is now being used, or it's somehow on the streets of Smallville and even in the hands of the teenagers, okay? The teens, they're getting their hands on this stuff, and they're enhancing their own abilities. They're enhancing their own powers. This one guy, Ryan, on the football team, decides to use some gold kryptonite in order to make the winning, to become quarterback on the football team, which is, you know, kind of ridiculous. Here we go. Now I finally changed the thumbnail so we don't have such a horrid thumbnail on the live stream. I got the sick image of Bizarro up there now. It's pretty sweet. We'll talk about him. We'll get to him. So yeah, people are using this kryptonite gold in order to enhance themselves. We don't know how many people like this could be out there. So Clark doesn't know what's going on with him, so he calls in Sam, and Sam is Lois's father, the general, and he's like, look, if you're out of control, Soups, this is a national security thing. And I kind of disagree with Superman here, which is weird because I didn't disagree with him at all during the first season, but now I've been disagreeing with him a lot. He seems to think that this is an okay thing to hide from people, that he's going nuts. And Sam, rightfully so, Lois's dad, said, look, if you're not controlling yourself, if you can't control yourself, this is a national security issue. But he keeps wanting to hide it, and thankfully we found out what it was, what the core of it was, what the source of the problem was, before he just went insane. And Bizarro finally made it out of the mines. Although with somebody with Superman's strength, I'm surprised that it took that long for him to get out of there, considering Superman can punch a hole through a planet in, you know, seconds. You know, if not seconds, probably minutes or something like that. But yeah, Anderson is also the thorn in Superman's side. Anderson's the person who took over for General Lane, and he's the one giving Superman these ultimatums, like, you either pledge your allegiance to the United States, or we're going to get our own supers and we're going to use them against you. Now, here was the interesting thing. I thought that whatever was down there in the Schuster mines, aka Bizarro, I thought that that was a government experiment at first that had gone wrong and they tried to bury it. And it still could end up being that. We don't quite know the origins for how Bizarro got into this situation, or looks like he does. But it doesn't seem that the government is aware of this Bizarro creature. So maybe this was something that Tal was working on. We got to see a little bit of Tal action too, while he was in his own Fortress of Solitude, and we got to see Superman's mother and all that kind of stuff a little earlier on in the episode. But there is a third party who was the woman controlling the operation on the mines and measuring the seismic activity that was going on down there. I'm thinking is working for the new General Anderson, to capture whatever is down there in the Schuster mines. And now that we know that it's Bizarro, I think her goal and the government's goal was to take whatever was down there and to weaponize it against Superman, to weaponize it against Clark. Now, obviously, this is not something that can be controlled. Bizarro is not only just every bit as strong as Superman in some versions of him, but he's almost mindless. I mean, he's lower on the IQ scale than even somebody like the Incredible Hulk from Marvel. That's like the closest person that I could think of on a scale of intelligence, because even Solomon Grundy would be more intelligent, I believe, than Bizarro. Bizarro is he's really down there on the scale. But let's talk about it. Okay, so enough beating around the bush. Bizarro is here. Like I said, I think this is the first live action version of Bizarro that we've ever got, and he looks pretty sick. He looks pretty insane. I've got images, actually. I put the image of his face, but I've got some other photos. I'm not gonna be all like tacky and like show the ones that I have on my phone, but check this out. Okay, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Check that out. That is insane. Comic accurate. I love the suit. He's got the eyes, and I think Tyler's doing a great job playing kind of this zombified Superman version of Bizarro. He's got the necklace and everything. So could this allude to his origins being from Krypton? How did he even get here? Once again, my original thought was that he was some sort of experiment by General Anderson, or maybe even before him, General Lane was. See, and that's okay. Well, no, it couldn't have been from the government, because Lane would have been aware of the operation, and as soon as there was seismic activity going on in those mines, he would have said, yeah, we tried to bury an experiment down there and it didn't work out. So I think what we're going to have here with Bizarro is he's now in Superman's Fortress of Solitude, and Lois has basically quarantined Clark Poor choice of words. He's on house arrest, okay, right now because he can't control himself really. But if he goes out there, who's to say it's not going to draw the attention of Bizarro? And Bizarro seems to be in a better state because Superman at any time can just go mentally nuts right now, feeling all the rage of Bizarro, as they seem to have some sort of psychic link. Now, that psychic link leads me to believe that it's some sort of clone. And with that clone, them having the same DNA, maybe there's some sort of connection there that he's able to feel the rage. I am seeing some of you all's chats. Feel free to hit me up in the chat. I see CrazyFace123 says, nice vid. Hit me up with any questions or any reactions that you have. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything that went down in the episode. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Bizarro as the overall theme, but I want to hit real quick on some other things. John seems to be making amends with Natalie, his daughter, as she's now helping him fix the steel suit as it was broken down, and she's like, look, I don't want you fighting and stuff, but if you're going to do it, you need the right gear. And she's kind of showing her skills as an engineer, making friends as well with Sarah and with Jordan, not really with Jonathan, although they did have a moment playing Madden, which is always cool. Some other things I want to make sure that I'm not missing. Yeah, so we talked about Ryan using kryptonite. We talked about Lois, and she's actually making amends with her father now, teaming up to help Lucy, their sister, but Lucy doesn't show up. In fact, it was the woman, correct me in the comments down below, who was making all those allegations against Lois, and so they're kind of gonna have it out there. So those are some things to look forward to. And speaking of what we have to look forward to, let's talk about the preview. Let's talk about what we saw on TV after the show for what to look forward to. Honestly, guys, it was not much, but we don't need that much in terms of story, at least, because Bizarro is here. So we know we're going to get more of a throwdown with them. Could Tal be brought in? Again, you know, he was brought in this episode to help in the Fortress of Solitude. Could it happen again? Possibly. I think also Anderson, General Anderson, some of his super enhanced, like Tag, some of his super enhanced people are going to help. Let's see. CrazyFace123 says, what happened to Ryan? Ryan. Yeah, so we don't actually know what happened to him. The last time we saw him was that he got in a fight with Jonathan over the drugs and over those things. I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube. I hope I don't get demonetized. I didn't mean it like that. I meant kryptonite, gold kryptonite. Anyway, they had a fight on the football field, and we don't know what happened to him since then. I don't know what kind of tests they're able to run in order to find out that somebody's using this gold kryptonite, and if that were to happen, then Ryan would be taken off the football team, I would imagine. But I doubt anything like that is going to happen. You know why? Because Jonathan went to his girlfriend's house at the end of this episode asking for some kryptonite gold for himself. So instead of just telling his dad that this is going on and exposing it because his dad is a coach, he's now getting himself involved, which, like, you know that your dad's on a hair trigger right now, and you know he's got some problems with lashing out. So are you going to do something dumb again? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But I think it's something kind of annoying about a lot of these characters, that the adolescent ones, the teenage ones in this show, is they keep making kid mistakes. Not to say that people can't make mistakes, but it's not rational, you know? Like, they have a distinctly different train of thought from the other older characters in the show, and they're just not thinking straight a lot of the time. And you know, with somebody like Superman as your dad who's having some anger issues, the last thing you would want to do is just give him another reason to lash out, because he's done a great job at reining it in, but it might not always be the case, you know? He might be in a fight with Bizarro or something like that. Now, Jordan is partially capable of defending himself, but not against an enraged Superman. I mean, he gave Tal, he gave him a short blast of laser vision, so it does, you know, he can control that laser vision on his own. But then, I mean, Tal just beat the mess out of him, and Superman had to come and save him. So the last thing these kids would want to do is to further anger Superman, as he's already having trouble controlling himself. So with that being said, guys, this is a really good episode. I did not think, I had high hopes for this season, but I wanted to kind of control my ideas, because I didn't want to, I don't know, jump the gun and think that it would be more of a show than it really was, or better than it actually would end up being. But it's not disappointing. it's not disappointing at all. And now with Bizarro being involved, it definitely looks to pick up through the rest of the season. So, guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'll be chatting it up with you guys all week. I had to jump on for the live stream. Sorry, there's not a lot of production value and all that stuff you used to seeing on WeSibs, West Coast, East Coast Siblings. But we'll get with that. I'm working on the live stream. I got some stuff coming up, so you're gonna want to stay tuned, guys. It's gonna be another great season, I think. If you're looking for something else to watch, Snowpiercer just premiered yesterday, so I'll try and put a link to that down in the description below. In fact, I'll do that right now, so you can check that out. It's a great show on TNT. So definitely check it out. And then we've got, well, the Boba Fett season finale comes on tonight. Let me know in the comments if you want me to cover that as well. I think episode 5, the finale. All these short Disney Plus shows are weird. But yeah, let me know about that as we cover all your favorite movies and TV shows. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!